I'm Mike Shrader. I'm one of the VPs of sales at Carahsoft Technology. I think what stands out today is the energy and passion of both the audience and all of the speakers, as well as obviously our hosts Matt and Bob. There seems to be a lot of, like I said, passion and energy in the different topic areas, and helping our government customers access, innovative technology that's going to help them beyond the next fiscal year, 5 and 10 and 15 years out.
What do you feel like is the benefit or the value of coming to OODAcon, of participating with OODA?
There's a lot of exposure to emerging tech companies that otherwise have very little exposure to a government audience or U.S. public sector audience. A lot of them see the government sector as having a pretty high barrier to entry, which is valid. But OODAcon, I think, offers a gateway or an entry point to accessing the customers in government that are solving the hard problems of today and tomorrow leveraging technology.
So you work with emerging technology, and certainly there's a lot of discussion of emerging technology here today. Are there any trends or specific emerging technologies themselves that you are particularly excited by, intrigued by, interested in?
I think the topic areas speak for themselves today. There's a lot of talk about AI and quantum, and some focus on OSINT, and then obviously cybersecurity is probably always will be on the forefront with bringing emerging tech into our ecosystem. I think the overall fervor and appetite for technology has never been higher for our government customers. So a lot of these areas are, as Bob and Matt have said many times, are converging, where AI is powering cybersecurity tech, for example, or AI is powering OSINT collections or investigation. So there's a lot of convergence among the different topic areas that are being discussed.
Absolutely. Under the theme of convergence, AI, cybersecurity, space, quantum, it's endless, really. How do you see it reshaping the industry, the landscape, kind of things through your lens?
Like I said, I think there's never been a greater appetite from our government on how emerging tech and disruptive technologies can be integrated and introduced and solve the hard problems of tomorrow, as well as the budgets are starting to get allocated for and the inroads into government that are available to emerging tech through different R&D and prototyping programs and organizations that exist. So I think there's more prototyping, more R&D that's happening, more investments that are happening from the government in emerging tech than ever. I think the next phase is getting some of it, at least the successful projects and programs, transitioned into production use cases with customers at scale.
Absolutely. You talked a little bit about emerging tech and some of like the startup types of organizations that face the barrier to entry. I might not have used the word startup, but I think that's
close to it.
I think that's what you were getting at. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of navigating that barrier to entry and how you're working with them to work through that, get over it, under it, around it?
So yeah, there's a couple of phases to, I guess, accessing this ecosystem of customership. One is market education. So what are the outlets to help get the audiences in government that own these problem sets educated on your problem? And again, that has to be approached through the lens of understanding their problems to tell them how you could solve them. So market education and reach is one area that Carahsoft does a lot, makes a lot of investments in its vendor partnerships. The second is understanding the accreditations and authorities to operate and all of the FedRAMP and IL standards and certifications that a vendor has to smartly approach. So we educate our vendors. We don't do any of that work ourselves, but we've got a good subject matter expert team that can help guide and counsel our vendors along that journey. And then sort of opening up our network and helping these vendors access this ecosystem through events like OODAcon and trade shows like DOTIS and GeoInt and SoftWeek, so to connect with customers and requirements owners, live and in person, so that they can better educate and understand those requirements.
Got it. So you mentioned a little bit about R&D, and I'm curious about where and what kind of R&D you see as particularly important and transitioning from like the program and project into scaling that into bigger programs.
I think what is happening with AI is mostly is very important. I think the government still needs to. AI is all the concepts and use cases in AI are so new that developing those use cases through a government lens is still sort of happening at current slower pace today. I think R&D is doing a good job helping understand and better develop those repeatable government use cases. Quantum has obviously been talked about as a potential. So it's not here yet today, the capabilities that quantum represents, but understanding how to protect our world from a post-quantum circumstance requires some R&D and requires some thinking in a prototyping lab types of environment. Obviously, space. There's a lot that can be explored and exploited out of the space travel and exploration. So those are, I guess, three of the areas where R&D we see as pretty vital to making sure that the government has their use cases defined in a way that's repeatable for customers. Customers to use it, rinse and repeat. In closing, I would say, sort of Carahsoft feels like it has a responsibility to help government customers find and connect with emerging tech that is entering the market, and vice versa, help emerging tech break down some of those barriers to entry. So we're proud to be a sponsor of OODAcon and help create a conducive space to facilitate that exchange of ideas and that exchange of concepts.